A very, very good evening to you. Thank you for showing up tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about what kind of food should we be eating? I got a comment from my last stream that really, it triggered something inside of me, and I wanted to talk about it. What are we supposed to be eating? And so tonight's title is Fruit Eater, Plant Eater, or Meat Eater. What are we? But before I get started, I need to do what we need to pray so I can be focused and zeroed in and doing the right thing. So please, let's pray together. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for tonight. Thank you for this technology. Thank you that the average Joe, the regular person, someone who's just average, has the opportunity to share a message and to have a voice that others may hear. I pray tonight that I do a good job and I share what I understand to be true. Please be with those that are listening. I'm not the authority. I just get to begin the conversation. And I thank you for this opportunity. I thank you for Jesus Christ and what he did on the cross. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So what are we? Are we supposed to be eating meat like I've been trying to claim in my channel and my videos? Are we supposed to be eating plants? There is a whole community of people, millions and millions of them in India, would argue we should only be eating plants and fruits. And then there's another group that would argue we should be eating plants, but nothing from an animal. Milk, eggs, cream, cheese. They say no. In fact, they even sometimes go so far as to say no honey either, since animals have to suffer in order for the honey to be gathered. Even though the honey does come from a plant, it's like the bees are involved. There's still another group within the vegan community that focus on eating only fruit. The comment that came through argued that we are a fruitarian. They called the name, what was it? Frugivore, I think was the name. And that's what humans are supposed to be. Okay. You know, I'm grateful for the conversation, because for decades and decades, we never really did consider what are we supposed to be eating. We basically ate out of survival, some out of pleasure, and we just did what we could. How many of us didn't have access to large sums of money, and so whatever was cheap at the supermarket, at the grocery store, at the dollar store, that's what we bought. But we look at the concern that many leaders have about the American waistline, the non-communicable diseases, heart disease, cancer, fatty liver disease, and kidney stones, all these issues that are coming up. And it's like, you go back to like 1890, and these issues are not plaguing the Western hemisphere, the Western nations, I should say. Like, it just, people are not sick like that. And now we are. Now we have all of this sickness. And many people are arguing that it's just genetics, that all we have to thank for our situation that we're in is how we were born, our genetics, our heritage. Still others will argue, no, it's the food that we eat. That's one of the claims I'm making. And then within that camp, they're going to be like, well, you should be eating this food or that food. I come from the Seventh-day Adventist background, and they're going to argue we should be vegetarians and trying to go back to the Garden of Eden. And not so much that we can go and live there, but we should be fashioning our life, our food after what Adam and Eve ate after the fall of man. Why do so many of us have no idea what kind of eater we actually are? And I'll argue it is a list of reasons. One, when you go to school, how much education do you get at school about what to eat? What food is best for you? I'm going to say minimal. The doctors, and no shade against the doctors. The doctors are good people who are trying their very level best to work within a system to help people. And they have rules that they have to follow. Not to mention their paychecks are often highly affected by the pharmaceutical industry and the the governing bodies that determine what doctors can and cannot say and prescribe. And they're doing their very level best. The schools that they go to, the doctors, the professionals, even the nutritionists, they go to schools that are funded by the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry. It's not privately funded. They are taught what is going to benefit the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry, not necessarily benefiting you and I. And so when they come out of that industry, when they come out of those schools, what are they supposed to do? They're told, here's the proven information. This is what somebody with diabetes should be doing. Here's what somebody with obesity should be doing. Here's what, and they all they can do is share that with us. And there's nothing more that they can do. I want to say legally, but more if they want to keep their license and if they want to continue getting the money from the pharmaceutical industry. And when these guys are asked these questions, they give that information, and they really don't have a lot of freedom to say whatever they want to say. On top of that, the schools, the pharmaceutical, the doctors and our families, what did they know? Here's how my father taught me how to eat like this. My grandfather taught me to eat like this. So I'm going to teach you how to eat like this. And our knowledge is passed on from generation to generation without a lot of information coming from any place that could shed light on what the food does for us. I think also there's a lot to be said about quote-unquote propaganda and advertising. I don't think it's some great big giant conspiracy that all these people are conspiring together. Even what I said about the pharmaceutical or the food industry concerning the doctors and the nutrition specialists, I don't think there's any kind of wild conspiracy there. I think it's just worked out like this. People looking for opportunities took advantage of those opportunities, and cereal companies wanted to sell their product. And they didn't have much problem with saying things that just weren't true, which would enable them to be able to sell the product that they wanted. And one opportunity, one little crack in the laws of what they are and are not allowed to say or do. And we eventually get to a situation where, whether it's the advertising, the schools, our parents, the doctors, nobody knows anything. And even when we get to religious circles, a lot of times the reasons why they adhere to certain nutritional ideas, it's not so that they can help you be healthy. It's so that you can be more spiritual or have greater, greater union, greater harmony. There's the word I was looking for. Greater harmony with nature and with creation. And I am not mocking that. If I live, and I am alive, I don't want my life to represent great destruction in the world around me. I want to be in harmony with the animals. I want to be in harmony with nature. I want to be in harmony with God. That's how I want to live. And so when the churches come along and they say, here's how to be in harmony with God, I'm desperate to be a part of that. I want to be in harmony. I think that there is so many multiple factors that are leading to us not knowing what kind of eater we are, what kind of food we should be chasing after, or anything of that nature. We don't know because there's a tremendous amount of conflict. What does it say about modern health that we can't even agree on what food is best for the human body? I'll say that modern health is wildly ignorant because of the factors that I named. I think that as a population and the leadership, everybody's in conflict of what is best for you and I. We can't, and I don't want, I'm hesitant to lay the blame on any one person or any one body. I think that it is a group of many people or many groups, many individuals, and many factors that led to the ignorance that we have today. And now all of a sudden, are the vegans right? Are the fruitarians right? Are the carnivores right? How about the omnivores? And everybody's convinced of in their own right. I'm convinced that I'm eating correctly. But how can we know? And here's the thing. You go to nature, go out into the forest, go out into the jungle, go into the ocean, right? Because we could totally do this, but just, and take a look at what animals eat. Like the deer, the deer do not suffer from obesity. They do not, and I'm talking wild animals. The deer doesn't suffer from obesity, indigestion, or any number of things like that. The way that they die is through the environment and through infectious disease. That's how they die. You take a look at whales, sharks, cows, you name it, man, birds. Every animal knows what it's supposed to eat, and they do not suffer the way that we do. Not even close. But when we take wild animals and domesticate them and bring them into our homes, then they start to suffer from things like obesity and arthritis and cancer and any number of diseases. And please don't interpret that I'm trying to throw shade at you and how you love your amazing animal. I have had cats, I've had dogs, and I love them and I feed them very best that I can. But it is fascinating to note that when we do what we are told to do by authorities, by advertising, by, we're not trying to usurp the system. Our animals, our pets get sick. They really do. And they get sick in ways that is not happening in nature. And I think I've got another question down here, and I ask, when did we stop asking that question seriously? The question of what should we be eating? What are we as humans? What should we be consuming? And I'll argue that question stopped being asked when we were really being propagandized on what we would buy, what we were purchasing. And moreover, you take a look at these school systems and how the school system is structured. The school system does not teach you to be inquisitive and curious and oh, what's this thing or what's that thing? Instead, it's sit down, shut up, listen, and now regurgitate the information that you have been fed. I mean, how many classes did you take in school that taught you about being an entrepreneur or learning how to study and how to research and how to understand something? More, it was, here's what to research, here's what to understand, here's what to know. And I think that we stopped asking questions in general. In fact, most young people ask questions such as, what's the latest thing going on with the Kardashians or whoever the latest pop culture celebrities are, or what's going on in social media, or what's going on in like these very surface level questions that don't have to do with, am I healthy? Why am I not healthy? Why am I being told what I'm being told? I think that this is a major problem in our society today. And I know myself, I'm asking a lot more questions, but that's only because incredible genius people triggered me and taught me to start stepping outside of the system that I had been raised up in and taught to think like something completely different. And what I'm arguing, What I'm arguing is that food confusion is not your fault. It's not my fault. I mean, if we've got the schools, we've got the medical system, we've got pharmaceuticals, we've got advertising, and from every source, everywhere we're coming from, we're getting conflicting information and nobody knows complete answers and it's all over the place. Of course, we're not going to know. And so, what are we? And when it comes to what we're supposed to be eating, it is reasonable that we're going to be confused and we're just going to do the best that we can. My mother, when I was growing up, she didn't have a ton of money sitting around in her bank account just wasting away and rotting. She had to penny pinch every little penny. And it was, what's affordable at the grocery store today? You know, and if she bought like a steak, it'd be the cheapest, non-fattiest steak you could possibly think of. Lord have mercy, those steaks. I love you, Mom, but those steaks, oh my goodness. I mean, now I've tasted a real ribeye fatty steak, and it's just so delicious. In fact, my amazing brother-in-law got busy, and he bought like a Wagyu beef ribeye steak. And I mean, the thing cost like $200 for like, you know, a steak about so big. And I mean, oh, it tasted so good. But when you don't have $200 to throw away on a single steak, what do? The very best that you can. What's on sale? What's at the dollar store? And you do the very best that you can. The question that I want to continue with is the fruitarian vegan angle. What's the core belief behind the fruitarian or vegan eating? And I'm going to argue that it's compassion. The vast majority, I mean, I have talked to so many vegetarians, vegans, and a couple of fruitarians. It's not a common belief system that I've come across, but they care about the animals and they care about nature. They don't want to eat another animal. They don't want something to die just so that they may live. They have compassion for the creatures around them, and they look at the what's it called now? The factory food industry, the factory meat industry, which, yeah, that is abysmal. That's a mess. You want to be, in harmony with nature. Go hunt your meat versus buying it at the supermarket where that animal's gone through absolutely hell to end up on your plate. And the vegan's like, I don't want to be any part of that. Moreover, the vegan, the fruitarian, does not feel comfortable going off into nature and being a hunter and again causing death so that they may live. That's the fruitarian, and the vegan is coming from a very compassionate place, and the vegetarian too. Many, many vegetarians that I've spoken to speak about being in harmony with God's creation, being in harmony with the animals. And sure, they consume milk and cheese and cream and stuff like that, but that's as far as they'll go. Oh, and eggs. I forgot about eggs. But that's as far as they'll go. And I mean, I live out here in the countryside in New Brunswick, and many people get their eggs and get their cream and beef and chicken and so forth from farmers, local farmers. They actually avoid going to the grocery store to get their meat and animal products because they don't want to be a part of that industry either. Not to mention, when you eat directly from the land, there's a lot more health involved. The beef and the fat and the bacon and the eggs and chicken, whatever you're going to eat, is way healthier if you can get it from the farm. I'm blown away. I am blown away how healthy eggs become when you get them farm fresh. Like, wow. And so I'm arguing that the fruitarian, the vegan, the vegetarian, they are coming from a place of compassion. They don't want to hurt the world around them, but there's more. There is more. Many of the vegetarians that I spoke to and I spent time with, they're also coming from a place of health. They see the issues that are going on in our communities, in our culture. Forget about our communities, just our culture, how people are passing away from heart disease, heart attacks, passing away from cancer. They are fat. They've got all kinds of, what's the word I'm looking for again? Stones, kidney stones. And Gallbladder stones. Gallbladder stones. I couldn't remember that word the other day. Gallbladder stones. The vegetarian sees that and they don't want to be part of that. They see the condition our bodies are in and they want to protect themselves. So they go vegetarian. And the idea that they're really chasing after is to get rid of all the unhealthy products and focus on eating what's healthy. And I mean, if you know anything about food and nutrition, what's, things that we're warned about is cholesterol, saturated fat, too much protein. We need to make sure that we reduce the amount of protein, maybe stay away from red meat because red meat is cancerous. If you eat a primarily meat-based diet, you're going to end up with gout. You're going to end up with indigestion problems. You're going to end up, the list is long of the problems that are assigned to meat. And so they're moving over to vegetarianism because they want to protect their bodies and they care about their children. They care about their pets. And so they try to move them over to vegetarian and vegan diets as well to protect them. And the reason why I'm really landing this, I'm really getting passionate about this, is I have noticed that many of us who believe passionately any one thing, any number of things, we tend to attack and mischaracterize those on the quote-unquote other side. You should listen to how some people describe the Catholic Church and what they believe. And then you'll talk to a Catholic like, whoa, they don't believe that at all. Or you listen to, somebody who's very passionate in Christianity and they characterize what atheists believe. And then you go talk to an atheist and it's like, well, they don't believe that at all. And so I'm trying to do honor to the people who are fruitarian, who are vegan, who are vegetarian. And this is what they believe. Or at least it's closer to what they believe. Not being one specifically, I'm probably misrepresenting it a little bit, but I am trying my very level best to represent exactly what it is that the vegan, vegetarian, and fruitarian, per se, what they actually believe and why they make the choices that they make. And then another big one is the environment. I was saying being in harmony with nature, and the big one is the environment. Have you seen what's going on with the oceans and the destruction that's going on with the oceans, the land itself? The First Nations people regularly cry out to I would say to the governments as they are frustrated at how the land is being treated. And the vegetarian says, okay, a lot of the grains that are grown is just fed to an animal, and then the animal's fed to me. So if I stopped eating animals, if I go vegetarian or vegan, then that's at least one cow that's not going to need to be fed a bunch of grain that's destroying the land. And then they try to stay within 100 miles of where they live to eat that way so that there is less pollution going into the environment to feed them. So I think that those are big ones, along with many that are Christian are trying to return back to the Garden of Eden's diet so that they can be in greater harmony with God. This is what I see people are doing for, or why they're going into vegetarianism and why they're going into veganism. I do not think that these people are in any way, shape, or form malicious in nature. I think there's individuals, yes, absolutely. But there are malicious, terrible, horrible individuals that work at McDonald's, or might be a police officer or a doctor or a garbage man. That kind of individuals everywhere. And the community, I don't think, is breeding this. Does that make sense? But here's the challenge that the vegetarian, the vegan, the fruitarian, and the different variations of this type of eating have to deal with. How do they get enough nutrition for what their bodies actually need? Because as much as the fruits and vegetables and grains, legumes and nuts have proteins and fats and vitamins, minerals, that food, no matter how exotic you get with it, no matter where you go to find your food as a vegetarian or vegan, no matter where you go, you cannot get all of your nutritional needs met in that diet by the food alone. You have to do more. And many have to get into supplementation. Actually, I shouldn't say many. All have to use supplementation in order to maintain a level of health. The food is not enough. And now, giving credit, I got to present the argument fully. The vegetarian and vegan will say, well, the reason why they need the supplementation is because the soil is not as good as it used to be. And so the food being produced is not nearly as nutritious as it was 200, 300, 400, or 1,000 years ago. And I can't disagree. I think the soil is being depleted, and I think that's a major issue. But the problem still persists. And so there it is. That's the vegetarian and the vegan. Well, what about the omnivore? Because there are many that will argue that our digestive systems are a lot like a bear. A bear has kind of like an omnivorous. Can I speak English? The bear has a omnivorous type of diet. So it eats roots, it eats bugs, it eats berries a lot, berries specifically. I shouldn't say roots, not roots, but berries, bugs, animals. They will scavenge fish, and they eat, quote unquote, everything. And it is argued that humans are like an omnivore. And we can have fish and roots, and we can have berries and fruit, and we can eat everything. But the thing is what they'll argue is that it's not that we have to have meat and plants. It's that we can eat meat and we can eat plants. And since it's a can, well, then avoid eating animals and focus more on eating plants, because we don't have to have one or the other. That's their argument. Should we eat this or should we eat that? It's like, well, you can. So focus more on what causes less harm. And again, they actually also will argue about keeping our diets within 100 miles. And let's be careful with the environment. And they care about the farming practices and problems with the environment as well. They're not oblivious to this stuff. I think within the omnivore community, and those that eat this way wouldn't really consider themselves a part of any kind of community. They go to work, they've got kids to raise, they're trying to go to school, they're trying to pay off their debts. They're not a part of a community per se. But due to their habits, it's kind of like, okay, well, then you kind of fit over here. And they are just trying to survive. Most people that are in the omnivore lifestyle, it's like, this is what's cheap, this is what I can afford, or they're tired of everybody coming at them to tell them what they're doing wrong and what they should or should not be doing. They're tired of it. It's like, can I please just be left alone to live my life? Can I not just sit back, watch the game, and have a beer, or eat my burger and fries without some idiot coming up to me and telling me how I'm killing Bambi? I just want to live. And so they eat what's available. They eat what tastes good. They love their pasta. They'll have a good salad, absolutely. Put some nice chicken breast on there, a little bit of Caesar dressing, and they wish to just be left alone. Because it seems that nowadays we are being bombarded from every angle about how we're living and how we should be doing this, that, or the other thing, and how our very existence is somehow a problem. And I think that people, the vast majority of people, actually land in this area. We are just trying to survive, and there are enough problems with debt, with my car just broke down, and it now requires $500, and I don't know where I'm going to get that $500 from because I need to get this other thing. We're just living, and we don't need another pressure. I mean, a lot of us go to church just to have a place where we can at least connect to something that offers us hope. Jesus Christ. And I think that, like I'm explaining, as I have my script down here, and I'm always looking down. If I ever look down, I'm just trying to check my script, make sure I'm staying on point. I think that Omnivore really does land in a place of convenience. And I think it's justifiable. I was there. That's where I landed. I was an omnivore, and I did it because of out of convenience. As a Seventh-day Adventist, I am a former Seventh-day Adventist, and I should have been eating vegetables and being a vegan and a vegetarian, and I never did it because I was not interested in all the work that would go into it. But what I did do is I tried to minimize my meat. I tried to minimize my fat. I didn't consume lard. I didn't consume butter. I didn't consume the things that I was told were unhealthy for me. So if I had a steak, I'd try to get the leaner steaks. I would try to cut off the fat, not eat the fat. You know what I'm saying? I did my best within the context that I was in. And I think this is the vast majority of us. And like I was saying, is that like omnivore is not an ideology. It's just people living in today's life, and people do the best they can with the knowledge that they have. And hey, what's wrong with having some cookies, some milk, or coffee? My dad, that's one of his favorites, is some chocolate cookies and coffee. And that's a treat for him. He's like, what else can he afford? A little pleasure, please? Just a little something? Well, what about the carnivore? Where's the carnivore coming from? Is the carnivore like just the exaggeration of the omnivore, where they're just tired of all the information and everybody coming at them, and they're just going to eat the most meat they possibly can because they don't care about the animals? Does the carnivore just not care about the earth? Is that where it's at? No, I've been listening to carnivores now for 2 years. And one of the things I have noticed is that these people who move to the carnivore diet are people who are tired of the diets. They've gone from diet to diet to diet and found no success. They've been diagnosed with diabetes, or been diagnosed with fatty liver disease, or they have lupus, or they have any number of diseases, right? Those are the big common ones, especially the diabetes. Obesity and diabetes seem to be the biggest ones, and they're desperate for solutions, and they stumble across some video of some professional, some health expert, a nutrition expert, talking about how the body actually works and what the body is designed for ancestrally. In fact, there's this one doctor, Dr. Ken Berry, who has coined the phrase, the proper human diet. And he says the human diet is supposed to be fatty red meat. You go back in antiquity and I guess he argues, you study anthropology, and humans were eating meat. Like, if you go back to quote unquote the caveman days, they were not gathering fruit. They were not gathering vegetables because plants were wildly poisonous back then. And there's a tiny, tiny sliver of plants that you can actually eat and gain any kind of benefit from. The only thing that was available was animals. And the only time you would eat plants is out of starvation or sickness, as all cultures have found the medicinal properties of plants to help with infectious diseases. When we look at history, the societies that focused on animal products and hunting really thrived in their health, in their mind, in their spirit. They thrived. The First Nations people were not agriculturalists. Can I say it that way? They didn't grow plants to eat plants. The First Nations in North America would sustain themselves by meat and medicinal plants, along with some berries. They never cultivated the land. until you get down into the South America, where many of the natives there cultivated corn, and they were able to raise corn. But that corn was not the only thing they eat. That was, they paired that with meat. If you go north here in Canada and you go up to where the Inuit lived, well, they almost no plants were in their diets. They consumed animals. And they thrived. They absolutely thrived. As I've been learning throughout history, mankind did not focus on eating plants primarily until the agricultural revolution, and the agricultural revolution led to humans consuming plants who, well, how do I phrase this? Okay. People in power discovered that they could raise crops to raise animals, so they would not have to go hunting for an animal. They figured out how to just like hold on to the animals so that they don't have to go off into the bush and hunt the animal and bring it back to the camp. The animal's already at the camp. The animal's already at the village. I shouldn't say camp, but village. They don't have to go hunting. And then feeding that animal, well, they figured out ways and means to feed it plants that it could eat. Slowly but surely, they figured out that what they fed the animals could also be fed to humans. And this is where you get your grains. When grains were discovered, when grains were cultivated, that caused the human society to absolutely explode. And the Egyptians, one of the reasons why that was such a successful civilization, I'm suddenly questioning, like, well, what do you mean, Rodney, by success? I mean, it's just that it was a civilization that grew in size and had a tremendous amount of influence in the world. And the foundation of their ability to get so big and so prosperous was grain. They fed the grain to the animals. They also fed the grain to the slaves. The leadership at the wealthy, the powerful in Egypt did not eat much of that stuff. I think they did eat a little bit as they found ways to make it really, really tasty. But for the most part, grain and plants were fed to slaves, the poor, and animals. And that is true throughout history. The poor people ate the grains. In fact, check this out. You might remember that when the Europeans were crossing the Atlantic Ocean and making their way over to North America, many of the people in those boats would get scurvy. And they would get scurvy, got over here, and then they discovered vitamin C or eating plants, and they could solve the scurvy. But here's the thing. Those on the boat who got the scurvy, who are the ones that actually ended up with that sickness? It was not the captain. It was not the wealthy, the powerful, and the leadership within those ships. It was the slaves, and it was the crew. The crew that ran that boat and followed the orders of the captain. They got the scurvy. How come the captain didn't get no scurvy? Did he have access to oranges and bananas and apples and stuff like that, and everybody else didn't? No. They, the captain, the leadership, had access to meat. And it was the meat that enabled them to hold on to their health and not get scurvy. They didn't get it. It was the crew that did. I mean, you might remember that when the ships got to North America, there was an island where they would stop at, and everybody who had scurvy was kicked off onto that island, and that's where they stayed, and then the ship would sail on further to deliver their cargo. How come the captain, and just hear this for a second, the captain was never put onto those boats or put onto that island, unless, I'm going to argue, I will leave room for ships that maybe everybody was super poor. Somehow they didn't have access to meat. And so the captain, for some reason, got it. But it's always the crew. And the slaves, they got left behind on the islands once they got to the North America, and then they went on to the mainland, and the captain stayed with the boat every time. And here's the thing I've been learning. Our stomach acid, our brain size, and our energy stability. When humans consume grains, carbohydrates, sugars, when humans consume those things, you get a spike of energy, and then it drops off, and you're hungry. So hungry that you need to eat multiple times a day. Those civilizations that focused on eating plants, the human brain would be something like 11 to 15% smaller. The skull itself would also be significantly smaller, those that focused on eating grains. And energy stability. So, or no, wait a minute, I already, stomach acid. Our stomach apparently is very much suited for digesting fat and protein. I shouldn't say our stomach, our digestive system, because the stomach doesn't necessarily digest the fat. As I'm starting to stumble on top of myself, as I try to figure out and try to remember, I'm just going to say it this way. The digestive system of the human being is designed for meat. That's what it's designed for. It's specifically designed for that. And those humans that focus on eating fatty red meat, their brains are 11 to 15% bigger, with greater ability, greater capacity to think, to remember, to learn. And then the energy levels of people that are 100% carnivore based, they don't have the rising and fall of energy throughout the day. In fact, many are reporting nowadays who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s that when they adopt when they get rid of plants, especially carbohydrates, their energy is significantly better. I was about to say 100% better, but their energy is significantly better. And I'm going to argue that, what's the word I'm looking for? Anecdotally, the people that I've been listening to with their witness about what they have experienced once they adopted the meat diet is that their health significantly improves overall in areas that they never knew could be improved. One of the big ones, this is reported again and again and again. People are reversing their diabetes and they no longer need medication. Now, it takes time, but that's what I'm seeing over and over again. People with fatty liver disease, people with clogged arteries, so heart disease, they're finding that the heart disease is reversing. I've not heard a doctor yet say cure. I've heard lay people like myself say that there's a cure, but people are able to reverse these diseases and send them into remission, which is amazing. And so I'm noticing that the vast majority of people that join and become carnivore is for their health. Their health was failing, and now they are desperate. Absolutely desperate. And it seems that our bodies respond significantly well when we omit plants, especially carbohydrates, and introduce fatty meats. When we strip away labels, what simple truths remain about how the body feels after each kind of food? And this is big. This is really big. I've been seeing a ton of testimonies and videos of people who were vegan, who lost their health in a massive way. Now, these people are not significantly overweight. In fact, they tend to be underweight. But their skin, their digestive system, their brain, their skeletal, the skeleton, their bones are deteriorating rapidly, and they're very, very young. They're very young, and yet, especially with the women, they don't have any capacity to procreate. They don't. Their reproductive systems are completely collapsed, and the men, all kinds of mental problems. Same with the women too. They have all kinds of mental problems: depression, anxiety, schizophrenia. Many different mental problems because they stripped away all the animal products, and their bodies cannot get the nutrients that they need to be able to maintain the systems that's within the body. The brain starts to fail. And not only that, but their ability to connect spiritually, at first it does actually get better. But after a while, that collapses. It's because, and they're so sick, they're so depressed, they're so messed up, they cannot function. Vegetarians, they also struggle with digestive issues. Same with the vegans. The vegans have the digestive issues. The vegetarian has massive digestive issues. Their stomachs struggle with IBS, Crohn's disease, constipation, and other digestive issues that I'm not familiar with. I don't know their names, but they have these major issues. And it's like, if we were designed to consume plants, if we were not supposed to eat animals, if that's the truth, then why do we get so sick when we eat those things and they don't reverse it? Your stomach is still just exploding with pain and bloating and suffering, and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Should it not then get better? And the argument that comes through again and again is, well, it's your genetics, it's your heritage, it's, you weren't designed. You how do I say this? You did not get the lottery where you have a healthy body. You're just going to have to suffer. But we're eating what we're supposed to be eating. And people in the past, even just 150 years ago, 200 years ago, were not suffering like this. A lot of us, we just assume it must be that people have always suffered like this, and only modern medicine has made it so that those of us with weaker bodies are able to survive. It is true that modern medicine does help weaker bodies survive, but what I'm learning is that in the past, people's bodies were not that weak. They were not that weak. What if clarity about food isn't found in more rules, but in less noise? Hear this. Hear this. Those of us who struggle with obesity, I consume just the tiniest amount of carbohydrates, and my body punishes me immediately. I do not get to just consume whatever I want and it's all okay. No. I'll joke and say, I look at a picture of a hamburger and fries and I gain 2 ounces. And so we are taught that we need to eat less and move more. And that we need to be more disciplined. And we just have to stop giving in to all the snacks and all the goodies that are out there, and just be more disciplined. You're too sloppy, Rodney. You're not disciplined, Rodney. You need to be better. What if that's not the problem? And what if a whole bunch of new rules is not the solution, but instead we need less noise? Now, I'm talking a lot tonight, and I've been talking about all these different things: veganism, vegetarianism, omnivore, carnivore. How do we get out of all this noise so that we can just have clarity and, one of my favorite things, peace and simplicity? So when I go to have something to eat, I don't have to spend hours in the kitchen, and I mean hours. And I don't have to spend a huge amount of money trying to get all the food and supplements, and that's what I forgot to mention, but all these supplements in order to be able to survive, in order to be able to do, in order to live. And I mean, if you're a vegan, omnivore, vegetarian, all of these types of diets require a huge amounts of supplements, all kinds of them, vitamins and minerals and what's it, omega-3 fatty acids and B vitamin 12. It's like, wait a second, if this food is so healthy for us, and the manufactured foods, they stuff all kinds of extra vitamins and minerals and stuff like that into that food. If that's so good for us, how come we need these supplements? Why isn't what we eat, what we're supposed to be eating, why isn't that enough? It's got to be more. And I remember trying to cook a vegan meal from scratch and make it taste good. Yeah, that took a long day-gum time inside the kitchen. Dishes coming out of my wazoo. And even just a regular meal, how much dishes and time and cutting and cooking goes into it just to make a meal. How did we survive 200 years ago? Was it just as complicated for those who had the money to afford whatever they wanted? That they had to spend huge amounts of time in the kitchen in order to eat? And well, maybe they had servants and stuff like that, but was it the same for them? I don't think so. I think food was a lot simpler. And you take a look at the First Nations, the Plains First Nations and Plains Natives in the United States, and they were eating the buffalo. These were some of the tallest people in the world, longest lived, and staggeringly healthy. And there was no such thing as crooked teeth, obesity, heart disease, fatty liver disease, kidney stones, you name it. They did not have the diseases that now plague the First Nations today. Absolutely plagued them. The Inuit, the Native Americans, the Native Canadians, however we want to phrase that, the Inuit up north, do you know that they lived as long as any other regular human today? If they could get past, I think it's the age of 5 or 7, something like that, if they could get past that age, they were as long-lived as any other human on the planet. And it's been argued, and I remember hearing this argument from when I was a kid at church, and they would say that the Inuit only had the average lifespan of 45 years. And the reason why they had such a short lifespan is because they ate so much meat and didn't have access to plants. Yeah, that's not true. The reason why their average lifespan was 45 years is because the death rate in the children was so high because of the environment and infectious disease. If you could make it past the age of 7, you were long-lived. And about the only thing that would kill off an adult at that point would be the environment, infectious disease, or war. And apparently those things were not as, people were not dying off like crazy, like we get taught to envision when we hear about the past. I think what we need is clarity, not discipline, not fight harder, just dig in your heels and just do more. You can do it. Just fight. You can just grit your teeth and starve yourself and you can get healthy. I do not think that's the answer. I'm going to take a break. I need to go to the washroom. And when I get back, I'm going to continue and finish this live stream. I'll be about 5 minutes, and then I'll be right back. God bless you, and I'll talk to you real soon.
Keep your head up high, you said to me. Everything will work out, wait and see. We are stronger than we used to be. That's what you promised. Keep your head up high, you whispered soft. Even when the world feels cold and lost, through the darkness we will rise above. That's how you love me. When I feel the sun returning, this is all we have, this journey that we're on, then I will take your hand, and we'll keep moving strong. If this is all we have, you'll help me carry on. I want to share it all with you, with you, with you.
Well, good evening again, and I thank you for waiting. I do apologize. So there it is. I think that we need to get back to a place where health is simple, not complicated. And I think we've gotten to a place where health has become very, very complicated. I don't think it is. I don't think health is something that requires huge education, huge effort, tons of time in the kitchen, or tons of time doing whatever. I think that we need clarity, one, in how our bodies actually work. And we need clarity in what our bodies actually need. And then just be allowed to harmonize, align our lives with what we actually need and what is actually needed in our health. You know what I'm saying? Like, so often, well, here's what I've learned. The more complicated something is, the more money there is to make from that thing. And I think that there's some honesty in that. I mean, I don't think it's malicious or nefarious or anything of that nature, but when things are complicated and hard, somebody else can get good at that thing and make money at it. I'm just learning that health is not something that has to be complicated. I mean, a lot of us, we don't have the means to be able to, say, raise cows or raise chickens or raise lambs or raise our own meat, right? We don't have that. We don't have that capacity. The best that we can do is buy from the grocery store, buy and then we can have food. And so somebody, that kind of complication is natural. Raising plants and selling that and giving that so that people can thrive based off of what we make. Yeah, that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. But food production has become so complicated that we couldn't make it at home, and we cannot survive without the factory, without get myself into a better position here. We can't survive. We can't thrive. We must have the factory. We must have corporations in order to survive, in order to do well. And then as our bodies deteriorate, we need the factories again, and we need great corporations and huge money in order to keep our health, in order to keep us alive. And I think that something that was not complicated has been made complicated. I think that's where we're at. Food, it's not complicated. Go back to the cow. Like, how complicated is their food? Their natural food, not the food that we feed them to fatten them up. Just their natural food. How complicated is it? How about a pig? How complicated is a pig's food? Birds, there's not much that they eat, really. Even birds that focus on insects, they don't eat much in the way of variety. A bear, their diet, though it is looked at as omnivore, it's actually pretty simple, and they eat certain foods, and that's what they eat. And I think us as humans, we're no different. I think that our diets are as simple as they can be. And I think that we do the best on fatty ruminant meat. And then we can put in there, birds and fish and stuff like that. And actually certain fish definitely makes us very healthy. And we need that food. But it doesn't go beyond that. And that humans that focus on fatty ruminant meat, fatty red meat, and fish or seafood, their health is extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. And the only thing they got to worry about is infection and the environment. And nowadays, infection is very rare. And the environment, the world is dangerous, absolutely, but we are safer than we've ever been, especially in the West. I think that if we can get rid of all the noise, all the different products that we're told that we need, the supplements, the snacks, all that stuff, that we need that's what we need. We get rid of all that and get back to just eating from creation, eating what we were designed to eat. Our bodies will cooperate with us in ways that we could not imagine. Like hunger signals coming that you can trust. That your body doesn't feel quite right, you can trust that. You understand it. Instead of like, I feel hungry, but I have to ignore that in order to lose weight to get healthy. Or I need to ignore the full feeling. I need to do more, to eat more in order to be healthy. Instead of ignoring our bodies, we become one with our bodies, and we're able to actually hear and understand and trust our body's signals just by simplifying what we eat, getting rid of the factories, getting rid of the ultra-processed foods, getting rid of all the things that complicate our food and make things very expensive and very difficult, in my opinion. I'm not an expert. I said that at the beginning. I am not an expert. But as I see the experts talking who disagree with the status quo, and I listen to people and their testimonies of what they are able to do when they eat better and eat simpler, I can't ignore it. And I want to share what I'm talking about because I adopted this idea of simplifying, and I went the carnivore way. And what my body behaves like now is, just on a simple note, right? Just on a simple level, I lost 52 pounds. I didn't exercise. I didn't get into some kind of weight loss pharmaceutical. I didn't do supplements. I didn't do meal replacement shakes. None of that. I just simplified the food that I was eating. Nothing more. And I simply lost weight. I can't get over it. I cannot get over it. It's amazing how healthy I have become. Now, I still have my challenges. I'm still, unfortunately, overweight. Not as bad as I used to be, but I'm still there. And that's because I now know I cannot tolerate in any way, shape, or form carbohydrates. If I touch carbohydrates, I get fat. Or at the very least, I stop losing weight, right? And that's a major issue. I think that what would help us is getting to a place of ownership. Don't look at genetics and think to yourself, man, I cannot be healthy because of my genetics. I don't think that we should look at the system and say that the system is against us and that all we can do is just be a victim of the system. It doesn't get the results that we need, that we want, that we desire. I think we need to take ownership and own and say, this is mine. My body is mine, my health is mine, and I'm taking control of it. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get the results that I want. And this isn't selfishness, right? You're not taking from others and just, oh, it's all just me. It's not that. It's just that your health is yours and you need your health. In order to do anything in life, we need to have some level of health and hopefully excellent health, because that is the best place to be. And I think that we need to see and understand what fuels our bodies. And we need to learn through knowledge what we need to do in order to have a healthy body, a healthy mind, a healthy spirit. This is your life. Your life belongs to you. It doesn't belong to everybody else. And maybe you've decided to have children, and maybe you've decided to have a business, and so there's people that rely on you. And that's good. That's absolutely wonderful. But your health belongs to you. And I think that it behooves us to learn what actually our bodies need, and then to give our bodies what it needs so that we can do and live the life that we want to live, that we need to live. And I think it's in knowledge and then in discipline, yes, through clarity. So, once I learned that my body, if I eat plants, if I eat fruit, if I eat carbohydrates, if I eat those things, my body is going to respond a certain way. And it's just normal. That's just how the body works. Well, instead of feeling a victim of that, I learned, so my body needs cholesterol. It needs fat. It needs protein. And if I give that to my body, then it will respond the way that I need it to, that I want it to. And I'll be able to get the kind of life that I want, that I desire. My mind will work better. My brain will work better. Now, I have ADHD. And no matter what kind of healthy diet I go for, it's not going to cure it. But it can reduce the symptoms. And then there's things I can do in my environment to also reduce the symptoms. I'm going to always be prone to obesity. But if I work with my body the way that it's designed, I can get really good results. There are a lot of us, though, where we do ignore the evidence of our own body. And why is that? I think it's because we are bombarded from every direction about what our bodies need, and we're kept from ever really knowing, quote unquote, the truth. I don't mean this to sound conspiratorial. I'm not chasing after conspiracy. It's not that. It's just that the pharmaceutical companies don't make a ton of money if you're super healthy. The food industry doesn't make a ton of money if you're eating only from the garden and from the farm, right? I mean, if you're skipping all the steps that go from farm to factory to grocery store to your table and all the stuff that goes in between that, I mean, they're not making money. So keeping you, kind of ignorant, and oh man, I gotta have cereal. Either it's my babies who are demanding the latest sugar cereal, or myself who's going to the healthiest grocery store to get the healthiest cereal. Either way, you're going from farm to factory to grocery store to you. There's a lot of people making money off of that. And I don't think that it's entirely nefarious. I think there's some bad players, absolutely. But I think, somebody who's making some super whole grain, extra special cereal to try and make you be healthy, I think they're coming from an honest place. They're believing everything they've been told, so they're making the product that adheres to what they're told as to what is healthy, and then they just make it. It's yours. You can buy it. Enjoy. They try to make it taste good. And when it comes to the sugar cereals, I don't think that it's always nefarious. I think there is some honesty in there. I mean, the breakfast, we've been told since we were knee-high to a grasshopper. In fact, we've been told for the last 80 years that it's the most important meal of the day. And so children, often are kind of hard to feed. They can be pretty picky. And sweet is one way you can get kids to eat. Salt, sweet, fat, these are things that kids seem to just go for. And so they try to make food that the kids are going to eat. And cereal is one quick way to get some food into their body so they can be ready for school and, thrive and do well. I think there is some bad players. I think that does take place. And I think I can be convinced of different conspiracies. I can be. But I think that really we need to start questioning the stuff that we get told. The stuff that we get told, it's like, this is true or that is true. And I mean, I don't care. If my pastor says something, I'm going to go check it out. Is it true? Not because I think he's a liar, but I think he could be wrong. My doctor says something. Is it true? Not because I think he's a liar, just is it true? My mother, my father, if they say something, I love them. I'm personally connected to them. They matter to me and we're genetically connected. But is what they say is true? My best friend, I love my best friend. Oh my goodness, I have 3 best friends and I love them. And they'll tell me things. And I don't know if I agree. I'm going to wait and see. Oftentimes, yeah, they're right, but not always. I hope that you, who's watching this, don't just take my word for what I've been saying. I've been going on here for, an hour and 14 minutes. Am I right? Is it true what I'm saying? Study it out. Know for yourself. Don't let nobody walk on top of you. The wool that gets pulled over our eyes so much because we're so doggone ignorant. Let us learn. Let us know and praise God for the internet. Because sure, there's misinformation out there. I hate that title right now because I guess it's been abused. But yeah, there's stuff on the internet that's not true. But there's also a mountain on the internet that is. Are you a fruitivore? Are humans fruitivores? I'm saying the name wrong. I've already forgotten it. But I'll just say fruitarian, frugivore. Are we a frugivore? Are we a carnivore? Are we an omnivore? Are we herbivores? Being able to answer those questions intelligently. And one of the things I think is absolutely vital is listening to the voices, the top voices of those that disagree with the position that we're in. I think somebody who's a vegan should go and listen and hear the words of the top carnivores who know exactly what they're talking about, have the best arguments. Go listen to them. Go hear their arguments. Test their arguments. Those of us who are carnivore. What does the vegan say? Go to the top vegans. Hear their words. The top omnivores, the top herbivores, the top people who argue, here's what the diabetic should do. And hear their arguments. Test it. Is it true? Doesn't necessarily mean that you can maybe test it on your own body. Maybe you're not diabetic. But what are the testimonies out there? I think it's important. Think about one step that you could take this week to test what I've talked about here, what's one small step you could take? You know, maybe you're struggling with obesity. Maybe that's what it is. And I talk about it a lot because it's what I deal with. I get fat so easily. What's one step I could take this week that would help me with my obesity? And I mean, you know what I did when I was first learning this stuff? And I finally decided to take the leap. I didn't stop snacking. I didn't stop eating when I wanted to eat. I cooked when I was normal for me to cook. I did everything normal. The one thing I did is I'm going to eat more meat. Fatty meat. That's what I did. One thing, that's all I did. I didn't go preaching to everybody. I didn't go looking for complicated anything. One thing, that's all I did. And it changed my life. And I think that where you're coming from, I think it's the same thing. Pick one thing. Nothing complicated. Keep it simple. And just give it a try. You know, maybe you're coming from a very, very unhealthy, omnivore, I'm just trying to survive, I don't have a lot of money kind of diet. What's one thing in your diet that you could change that would not increase your budget, but would increase your health? One thing. Study what your body actually needs. In my opinion, what we need is animal fat and animal protein. That's what our bodies need. That's where I stand. So if I was in that kind of situation, I'm super, I don't have money. Well, the dollar store. Maybe I'll try to get what I can from the dollar store that's just meat. Could I do that? Hot dogs, bologna. And I mean, you know, the best stuff is obviously what is coming from the grocery store at the top, the clean, the meats and stuff like that. But if you don't have a lot of money, you do what you can. You know, I mean, all of us learned how to like beer, cigarettes, coffee. Could we learn to like sardines? Learn how to do it. Because it's cool. I mean, think about this. I mean, when you first tasted a cigarette, I mean, you weren't sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, strawberries, or oranges or candy. It was horrible. When you were first handed candy, no one had to convince you to like candy. But when the first person handed you coffee, I think for the vast majority of us, coffee did not taste good. We just learned to like it because of its benefits. Could you do the same thing with ham? Could you do the same thing with, pick the food you're not used to eating, but would be good for you? One thing. What could you do? I'm curious. I am curious. Leave a comment in the comments below. I'll be reading them and I'll be responding to them. I think another area where we could make changes to help our health, to get to a place where we could be healthier, I'd say it's in gratitude. Faith and gratitude. This is an area where I can struggle quite a bit. Within my world, I have had a tremendous upheaval and disruption in my faith life. I'm no longer a Seventh-day Adventist, and I was one for over 40 years. Well over 40 years. And now I don't know where I belong when it comes to me as a Christian. I don't know. How does my faith fit in there, in that environment? Maybe you've been hurt in the church. Maybe you've been just disillusioned by faith. How could you find your way back to faith? And gratitude. Now, I'm not saying I don't know. In our culture nowadays, it is common practice to complain. I mean, a huge amount of TikTok and YouTube Shorts videos is people complaining about something. either they're in the right or they're in the wrong. I mean, one of the most famous kind of complainer is the Karen, followed by the Ken. I think that's what they're called. The male version of a Karen is a Ken. And we've gotten to a place where gratitude is something that we struggle with, and I do too. Man, point the finger. I point the finger at you, and look at this. I got 3 fingers coming back at me, and if I put 2 fingers up there, I got 6 coming back at me. I need to work on my attitude so much. I mean, if I can get clarity in my health and in my meat, in my health and my diet, could I also get clarity with faith and my attitude? Because I've written down here gratitude, but I'm realizing I really should have written down my attitude. And I think my attitude, a good attitude, is accessible through good health and gratitude. And gratitude can lead to faith, or faith can lead to gratitude. I think the two get along with each other and they can cause the other. And I have struggled with that. And it just, as I'm talking to you tonight, and maybe later on when you're watching this live stream in the replay, I think that a big part of why our health is so deteriorated in the West is a lack of connection to the Creator, a lack of connection to His creation, and a lack of gratitude for those two things. You know what I'm saying? Just thinking, just thinking. You were designed to be healthy. You and I, we were designed to be healthy. That our bodies are designed to thrive, not to suffer, not to be sick, not to be all messed up. That's not what we were designed for. And you and I, we can be healthy today in today's world with all the problems that exist. We don't have to be victims of the system today. You don't have to be. I don't have to be. And I think that we're designed for faith. We're designed for thriving, like we can have peace in our lives. We can have peace in our hearts. We can have peace in our mind. We can have harmony and peace in our bodies, which in a lot of ways kind of lends us towards contentment and joy. Please, I'm not stretching here, but think about this. If you have excellent health and you are the cause of that, you made your health amazing. You did. You're the cause for that. It's not an accident. It's not, you got the genetic lottery. No, you are the cause. To make yourself healthy, that will definitely bring you joy, peace, which then can lead to joy, in my opinion. I believe this with all of my heart. I really think that a big part of the depression and discontent in our culture is we are so unhealthy in our minds and in our bodies, and we're fighting so much, and there's just so much confusion. And if we can take ownership of our knowledge, if we can take ownership of our health, as I beat up my poor mic here, if we can take ownership of ourselves instead of giving ourselves over to all these other things save Jesus Christ. I do believe, I do believe that if we give ourselves over to Jesus Christ, He will give us agency to have control over ourselves so that we do not have to be sick. We do not have to be confused. We do not have to be ignorant. Ignorance is, man alive, I'm really... I'm triggered here as I think about this. I grew up in ignorance. And there's this saying, ignorance is bliss. Only in certain circumstances. I don't find joy in my ignorance. I find greater joy in knowledge and understanding. I've been fat for how many years, decade after decade, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I did not know how to fix that. I didn't know what I was doing that was causing it. Yeah, that was not great ignorance. And now I've been able to study and to learn and to understand and go, oh, I can take control of my body and can take control of my health and get the results that I want, because I don't want to be in a surgery and I don't want to be all over in I don't want to be a slave to medication and wasting away in my chair in my 80s. I want a life that I can live and not just survive but thrive in my 90s. I mean, it blew my mind when I got to realize that Alzheimer's might be type 3 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is 100% preventable. And I'm learning totally freaking reversible. What if type 3 diabetes is at the very least preventable? And you could have peace, which would let you have joy. I'll take that all day long. What if real health, what if being healthy is not about taking sides, picking this side, I'm against you, you're against me, we fight each other, we're just fighting, but instead you and I together, we're trying to discover what is true, what is real, what is good, and that we're not just surviving. We're not just making our way and, oh, maybe it's going to be okay. No. How do I say this? Instead of picking sides and we fight each other, both you and I chase after truth. And we're willing to hear each other. I'm willing to hear you. You're willing to hear me. And we're willing to hear anybody that has anything that might be true. I want the truth. I desire it deeply. Let me have access to truth. And if you've got truth, I want to hear it. And I pray that I am getting to share truth with you. I don't think that we have to be sick. I don't think we have to be sick. Especially with the non-communicable diseases. Clogged arteries in our hearts. Indigestion, our digestive tract, digestive system's just failing us. I mean, we need the digestive tract. It has to work. We cannot live without it. We have to be able to have it to survive. I'm not against you. No way. No way, man. I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to have a real future. Something that is yours. And I keep going back to health. I do keep going back to health. But you see, I'm thinking like body health, mental health, spiritual health, knowledge health, education health. Meaning not just that you have education in how to be healthy, but that your education is healthy, complete, full, and yours. It belongs to you. You can own it. So that if you wish to have a certain outcome, you can actually get busy and make it happen. I mean, right now we're just talking about obesity and, type 2 diabetes. But what if you could have health in more than one way? And I think it begins with knowledge. And learning how to get healthy, learning to get the information and the knowledge that will allow you to have control over your health, I think is the door that could open to greater knowledge as far beyond any school education that could ever, far beyond any education that the schools could ever give you. As I stumble over my words, does that make sense? And I think that if we can get to a place of how to know, how to discover, how to investigate, how to come to knowledge, and have the attitude to not harmonize, not adhere. I say come into harmony with what is true. Bring our lives into harmony with what is true. I think that we can open the door to the spiritual life, the spiritual world, far more fully. Because instead of having to trust the pastor will tell us what's true, or the religious leader, whoever they happen to be, you can know, and you can end up going into those faith communities and being a contributor and a leader from an honest place. I mean, one of the things I love about YouTube is that you and I can become, or not just YouTube, pardon me, I mean the internet, that we can become as knowledgeable as the professors and end up becoming a professor ourselves. Not because of some kind of miracle, though in my opinion the internet is a miracle, but because we end up becoming so knowledgeable. I mean, what makes the professor a professor in the first place? How is the professor a professor? The professor has simply spent a huge amount of time in a particular subject and absolutely became tremendously knowledgeable in that area, on that topic. You and I could do the same. And now YouTube absolutely plays a massive role. I mean, imagine sitting down and listening to a biologist, and they lecture on the intricacies of DNA and the history of how we came to know DNA and the research that's going on right now about DNA. You could become an expert. We could become experts. Now, that doesn't mean that somehow that we're going to be, have the certificates and all this kind of stuff. It's not that. So much as we could do the same practices that makes the experts experts. And then when it comes to our health, when it comes to our knowledge, when it comes to what we are, when it comes to ourselves and our lives, we can speak into our own lives with authority, but also be a voice of reason and truth to those around us. I mean, if you're a father and you're speaking to your 12-year-old daughter, your 12-year-old son, would you not like it that you are so knowledgeable that they could trust you like they would trust a professor? I mean, as it stands right now, most students, most children look at the school as having some kind of authority and their parents as the ones who provide and the ones that they, I'll just say that they provide. The parents provide and the children look at the school as authority. What if you could have that role of authority? What if I could? All we got to do is study, learn how to learn how to study, learn how to understand as I get way off topic. So let's bring this back home. Are you a carnivore? Are you a frugivore? Are you an omnivore? Are you a herbivore? What are we? I believe that we can know. I've become convinced that we are a carnivore and that our bodies do the very best on fatty red meat. My body has come alive with health. There's still issues that I'm dealing with that I think are a result of a super high stressful lifestyle that I had previously and the diet that I had. Both contributed to certain health conditions that are not easily reversed just by diet alone. But my diet no longer exacerbates the problems that I deal with. And moreover, the other problems that are 100% metabolically reversible, they've reversed. I used to be pre-diabetic. I was rocketing towards diabetes. Overweight, tired. I'm not there anymore. And not because I'm somebody special. I'm just some dude trying to live life. That's all I wanted, was just to live. And I got to learn, about health. And I really am convinced that carnivore is the way. But the only way I know that is because of the studying that I did. And I encourage you to do the same. Study, learn. Don't just accept my words. Don't just accept anybody's words. Accumulate knowledge and information so that when some dingbat on YouTube comes along and says, hey, this, that, you can distinguish between what is true and what is utter foolishness. And you can have freaking control over your life, over your health, over your world, over everything. Saying that in such a cheesy way. Because I believe God is the one who's ultimately in charge, right? But it doesn't mean that we're meant to be helpless and hopeless. You know what I'm saying? Wow. I'm definitely rambling like you would not believe. And I thank you for watching. I hope you have an amazing, amazing weekend. And if you're watching this when it's recorded after what's it called now if you're just watching this after the live stream, may God be with you, may God bless you, and may you gain clarity in what in what is true, be it health, be it food, be it education, be it spiritual. May you gain clarity. God loves you. I care about you. I want you to succeed. I'm hesitant to say I love you because I don't know you, right? You don't know me. I'm just some guy on the internet. But I do care about you, and I want you to succeed. I want you to have success that's meaningful to you, that matters to you. That you could really stand up and get to see a better day. You are worthy of the work that this is going to take. You're worthy of the results that you wish to have. None of us deserve X, Y, or Z, but we are worthy. God be with you. God bless you. May God guide you in your journey. And I'll catch you at the next live stream. I'm going to be live streaming again Saturday. I think about 4 p.m. I think it's Saturday, this coming Saturday, 4 p.m. I think it's November 1st if I have my dates all correct. And we're going to be talking a bit about actually what I've been talking about this latter part of this live stream. I thank you for watching. You take care. God bless you. And bye for now.